In this episode of the Her Fertility Podcast, I am in the hot seat answering questions about secondary infertility. So if you have questions about secondary infertility or just want to learn more about it, then this two-part podcast is for you. Welcome to Her Fertility, the podcast revolutionizing the way women are supported on their fertility journey. I'm your host, Jess Timms. With years of supporting women as a fertility doula, I've seen the emotional pain caused by infertility, including my own struggle with unexplained infertility. And I always knew there had to be a better way to support women with their fertility health and healing. We are here to reclaim control, find clarity, and transform the fertility conversation.
Welcome, Jess. We're live. Thank you for being here with us. We're so excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. I can't wait to dive into this.
I know I've got so many questions, but yeah, this topic, which is secondary infertility, I know everyone already knows. This topic is, I don't think, talked about a whole lot, and comes with a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions. But before we dive into it, I would love if you'd introduce yourself and tell us whatever it is that you want to share about yourself, your journey, how you got here, why you do it, just whatever wants to flow out of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Jess. So I'm a certified fertility doula, and I'm the founder of Her Fertility Support. And all of this was born after my own experience with unexplained infertility. So it took me over 2 years to get pregnant. I had no medical reason not to get pregnant. And I was so frustrated, right? Like as many of us are, like, we solve problems, and I couldn't solve my problem. And so eventually, through a lot of learning and support and things, I got pregnant, and my son is now 6, which is wild. But I look back on that and I was like, that time, like those years of my life sucked, right? Like, they were terrible, and I didn't want anybody else to go through it in the way that I went through it. And what it really came down to was I just didn't have anybody who I felt comfortable with, like, talking to. So that led me into the path of being a fertility doula. And now it's grown in a really beautiful way. And I certify new fertility doulas through my business. And we support people who are ready to be moms and dads. So this topic is one that I was so excited to talk about because I've been seeing it more and more. Like, especially in the last year, I'm seeing more families trying to add to their family, and they're now experiencing infertility. So I'm super excited to share what it is and kind of info about it, and then I can absolutely answer all the questions.
Amazing. Yeah, I can't wait to learn why you think it's more prevalent now too.
Oh yeah. My biggest theory around secondary infertility, it's kind of twofold. One, we're talking about a group of people who already are parents, and parents now more than ever have a lot on their plate. My saying is, your fertility is your vitality. Mm-hmm. And it is a non-essential system of the body. So you don't have to have a reproductive system to be alive, right? Like, it's a bonus system. If you're running from a lion, like, you don't need to make a baby. You need to run from the lion, right? So you need your cardiovascular system, your nervous system, all those systems. But the reproductive system is the first one to shut down because it's secondary, right? It's a bonus. And it requires a lot. And so when we start to strip the body of its extra things, like its extra energy, its extra nutrients, that system starts to shut down. And parents now more than ever have a heavier load for a variety of reasons. Some are systemic, right? Like, we don't have the support that we need. Yeah. And then on top of that, we added COVID. So I'm working with a lot of people who gave birth during COVID, which was a really unique experience if you did give birth during that time. And your body remembers. So your body is like, I'm not sure I want to go through that again, even though we're not in that time anymore. That's my theory around why we're seeing more secondary infertility. The information I have today is for you if you're experiencing it or if you are a friend of someone, right? Because the reality is, like, we all know someone.
Yeah, so, with them when that's not your experience. So that I love that.
So I always say, if you're not getting pregnant, it's time to start listening, right? I've never heard of secondary infertility. What is it? It just simply means you're having trouble conceiving baby number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it is. So you've had a successful pregnancy delivery with no complications. And then when you're adding to your family, that is when you're experiencing infertility.
When does like secondary infertility happen? Is it like after you tried for 1 month and it wasn't successful? Or is it after you've tried for a year and not successful? Where's that?
Such a good question. So the definition, like how you would be diagnosed by, if you're under the age of 35, you've been trying for a year, so 12 months. If you're 35 or older, that time frame goes to 6 months. So trying for 6 months unsuccessfully.
I would think that it would be flipped. Like my mind would think it would be flipped because when you're younger, supposedly you're more fertile, so it should be easier.
Right. You would
And
think.
then,
I think that they do it that way so that you can get support or intervention more quickly.
that makes sense too. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And statistically speaking, this is happening to 15% of couples. And I always say, in social science, like if it's above 10%, that means you know someone. So we all likely know someone, but it's very unspoken. Usually we don't talk about it because it's unexpected. If you've already had 1 baby or 2 and then you can't, it's pretty surprising. There's also this social expectation that we have that you should just easily be able to conceive again. And often that's coupled with a deep feeling of like embarrassment or questioning internally, which is a whole other bucket we could go into around infertility in general. But the couple themselves usually feels some level of embarrassment around it and doesn't really want to talk about it, right? If this is you, I have developed a framework called the Her Fertility method, and it's what I use with everybody because it's just this 3-pronged approach. So of course we start with the body, then we talk about the mind, and then we talk about your energy. If you are experiencing secondary infertility, your doctor, again, might not diagnose you until after a year of trying or after 6 months. But if you have that internal gut feeling, I am a huge proponent of starting to get data on your body sooner than later. So you might not be qualified by your doctor to like jump into IVF. However, you can absolutely start asking for testing on your body. And this is where working with your doctor is really helpful because they have access to a lot of tests. So ask them for a hormone panel, get a semen analysis. There are some deeper fertility tests like AMH, which is anti-Müllerian hormone, or an HSG exam, and that's testing if the fallopian tubes are open. Those are more advanced fertility tests that you might not actually need because you have had a successful pregnancy and delivery. So simply getting the sperm analysis and the hormone panel is a really great way to start. And that both of those tests your normal doctor can get for you, and that can give you a lot of data. So I would say don't wait until the 6-month or the year mark. Go ahead and ask for that data now. And then the next step is the mind. What naturally happens, especially with our subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind's job is to keep us safe, right? Like that is its whole programming. But what will happen is the mind will start to take over and feed you thoughts of doubt really quickly. And especially with secondary infertility, it starts to sound like, oh, we should just be happy with 1. Or we already have a child, it's okay. But if you deeply desire another baby, it's my belief that that is like a soul calling in this life. So it's okay to want another baby. There just might be a couple things that look different in this path. And so really having awareness around what your mind is telling you, I like to say, like, you acknowledge it and thank it and let it go, right? Don't let that start to consume because it can pretty quickly with secondary infertility. And then the third step of what I call the method is your energy. And this one's really important for secondary infertility. Like we talked about at the beginning, as a parent, you are zapped for energy. Like you are giving out energy all of the time to your family. And that's part of the beauty of being a mom. But what we know about energy centers is the energy center that it takes to create life from, the sacral center, it needs fuel. I like to think of it as like a vase. And if you are constantly giving out from this vase and you're not filling it back up, then you have nothing to create from. And this is a much deeper, nuanced conversation, but simply just asking yourself, like, what is my energy level today? how do I feel when I wake up? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how tired am I without caffeine and movement? That is a really good barometer for how your energy is in your body. And without judgment, it just gives you a space to work from. So then you can find ways to fill up that bucket if that bucket needs some filling up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love that.
Then let's talk about if you know someone, like a friend, and they've been brave enough to share with you that they are not getting pregnant and they're having trouble and they don't know what to do. So like, what do you say? And this is a question I get quite a lot across all fertility journeys, because we all want to be a good friend, but we don't know what to say. And the reality is there is no perfect thing to say, but saying something is better than saying nothing. But there is a wrong thing to say.
Yeah.
So
there's a few wrong things to say, I feel like.
Yeah, there's a few wrong things to say. What they all center around. So I have a master's degree in communication. So this part I can like really nerd out on, and I will try and keep it pretty simple. But what they all center around, the wrong things to say, is when we start to make it about me. So don't make it about you. Do not share a story or an experience or advice or something similar to relate. Like we do this because we want to relate with their pain. But when we make it about us, that's when the wrong thing can come out. And it's not ill-intended, right? Like we have the right intention, but the person experiencing the struggle, it doesn't benefit them at all in that moment. And so rather than offering a relatable story or experience, make it about them. So asking questions, getting curious, and just simply reminding them that you're there for them. It might sound like, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here for you. Or, yeah, that sounds really terrible. Like, how can I support you? Right? It's just like hearing and acknowledging them, but then asking questions and making it about them. That is the right thing to say.
If
yeah,
someone is very much relating to them, like literally say, like same story almost. Like I tried getting pregnant with my third child for a year. And then like the person that you're talking to is like, I'm trying for my third child. It's been 13 months. In that case, would it be beneficial to relate so you don't feel alone? If you're like, oh my God, I went through the same thing. I felt this way and this way. Is this how you're feeling? Would that be beneficial? Or don't even if your story is very similar to theirs?
This is such a good question. You have to ask. So ask them. I have had a similar experience. Do you want to hear it?
I'm thinking like, isn't that what like support groups are?
Yeah. The goal here, communicatively, is to give agency back to the person. So you want to ask them, I have a very similar experience. Do you want to hear it? They get to decide, because sometimes it's helpful and sometimes maybe that day it's not helpful, right? And then they at least know, so they could come back to you on another day when it would be helpful. A support group specifically, the agency is in the person showing up. So they're choosing to be there. And that's kind of how we differentiate.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Because I think a lot of people who could hear this would be like, but they want support.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better to connect and show that they're not alone? But that makes sense, giving them the agency of, yes, tell me about it.
Yeah, totally. And it's natural, especially in women, for us to share and to do that.
You want to things like, how can I fix this for you?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Let's see what questions didn't get. So this one was from someone that said, okay, I am overwhelmed. What are the first steps that I could take and things to consider when it comes to secondary infertility? If someone's like just in it and they're super overwhelmed, what would be like first steps to take or considerations?
Yeah, overwhelm typically comes from lack of information. So as soon as you can get information about what's going on, the better you're going to feel, right? Because you just feel like this problem is bigger than me. I don't know how to get out from under it. I'm overwhelmed by it. We're trying. Why isn't it happening? So that's where going to your doctor and asking for a hormone panel. Depending on your doctor, they will likely want to test you right when your period starts, or around those first 5 days, because that's when your hormones are at the lowest, and they should be testing your estrogen levels at that point. They might have you come back, depending on your doctor, later in your cycle to test your progesterone levels. Those are the two main hormones we want to know what's going on. I would also encourage a cortisol test if they can do that, especially in moms. Our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, is typically higher, and it has a direct impact on both of those. So if we can get a cortisol, that can tell us a lot about what's going on. As far as a sperm analysis goes, you can order one to your home. So you can do an at-home sperm analysis. I love the company Legacy, and actually have a discount link. I don't have any affiliation. We have a discount link if somebody is looking for that. Legacy will send you a sperm analysis kit to your home. He can do it in the privacy of his own home, send it back, you get the results. New technology is now available as of about a year ago. We used to just test 3 markers for sperm, how fast they're moving, what they look like, and how many there are. But now we also have access to DNA fragmentation, which just looks at the DNA composition of sperm. So even if those first 3 markers come back normal, there might be a DNA fragmentation. Typically, this is where we see more like pregnancy loss happening, but it could be a consideration for you to, if you're like, all of my stuff is normal, like all the female body stuff is normal, and his numbers are normal, maybe add on the DNA fragmentation test to see if like at that level of sperm, we can get more data.
This is really interesting. So for like secondary infertility, I feel like most women would be like, it's my fault because I got pregnant before and now I can't. So still testing the sperm would be a really good idea because it might not fall all on the mom.
It's a 50-50 game. So 50% of infertility cases are male infertility. And the more we learn, which is beautiful, we really need to be testing sperm. And I argue more frequently. So sperm takes about 3 months to mature. So just because he can produce sperm every day, that sperm was created about 3 months ago. So you have to also think back like, okay, 3 months ago, what was happening? Sperm are really subject to stress and toxins. Where are we now? January. So in a little bit more time, if there was a lot of drinking around the holidays, those toxins in the body might be negatively impacting his sperm. So we just have to think kind of like retrospectively what was happening, and yeah, absolutely get it tested.
Especially like in my world, we talk mainly about moms, but both parents feel the stresses of parenthood. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because I think a lot of moms, everything falls on us. Like
everything.
I didn't do this right. I snapped at my kid. Like all of it's on us. So yeah, thinking about that. Amazing. Okay.
Yeah. And one more note on that question specifically, it depends on where you live in your doctor. Like that might take you some time. If you're not familiar with when you ovulate, you have to get really familiar with that. And I don't want to like overlook that.
I have a question about that actually.
Oh, good. Okay.
It was lower down here, but it had something to do with how do I start like tracking my cycle, learning about my cycle.
Yep.
Essentially, that's the question.
Stay tuned for next week's episode where we continue this in-depth conversation and get into some really spicy questions. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Her Fertility Podcast. In a sea of big name podcasts, your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed the show, I would so appreciate your support by leaving a review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or YouTube, wherever you listen, to help me reach as many women as possible. You can also share this episode with a friend. Sharing the podcast is the best way to help it grow and build a community to support you on your fertility journey. If we aren't already connected, please find me at herfertility.support on social media, or sign up for one of my next fertility courses or offerings at www.herfertility.support.